All right, y'all. Tonight we got Anthony and Ricardo. As y'all can see, they look just alike. This is not a double screen. These are twins from out of Florida. They just got approved for their school. So let's get started. So I got to talk to both of y'all. Let's start from y'all's childhood because y'all are like identical twins. So y'all start from when y'all was a baby, as far as y'all can remember. And then we just going to step up to now.
All right. So we were born in the 80s, 1988 to be exact. As you can tell, we're both identical twins. We're born in Tampa, Florida, lived there for most of our lives. Ended up moving to Brooksville, where we're currently starting a school out here.
Our parents are Cuban. We're first generation Americans.
Generation Americans here. My family chose Tampa. I guess a lot of Cubans do. So, it was just something. How should I say? Let me rewind a little. So, my dad moved from Cuba when he was 13 over here. My mom and them met each other here in Tampa. And they ended up having us. My mom was like, I believe she was 19, and my dad was 25 or 24. Ended up finding out that she thought she was only going to have one single baby, but ended up having both of us. Funny story. So if we would have been natural born, I would have been first. But since we were a C-section, they pulled him out first. And, that's just the way it went.
Even though I still am the older twin, because on what's called the sonograms, I was still like 2 weeks or 3 weeks older than my brother. So either way, I'm still the older twin.
He was taking my food and still does all the time. So, we grew up, went to elementary school. I saw someone from Tampa. We went to Tampa Bay Elementary. Then
West Tampa.
Yeah, in West Tampa. And after that, we grew up. Our dad would always take us to the barber shop. That was something that we enjoyed doing. We always went. If we couldn't make it weekly, it would at least be, every other week. My dad always made sure that we always had our hair done. Unfortunately, we don't have hair anymore. So, the only thing I have left is my beard. So I gotta make it look nice as I can. So, well, anyways, my dad raised us, how, most Cuban culture, we always, did a lot of things that Cuban people would do. The cooking hogs underground, in the ground, a lot of frijoles and white rice, things like that. So we, I love the culture and, everything about being Cuban. So we went to a Cuban barber and just grew up falling in love with barbering. It was something as a young age, my brother and I talked about doing, excuse me. And as we got older, we started cutting our own hair. So, never really went, we just saw what the barber did and kind of imitated it on each other. So we enjoyed doing that. As we got older, our dad ended up passing away when we were about 8. So when that happened, we ended up moving to Brooksville. Brooksville's a small town, not a lot going on, which ended up being a good thing for us in a way, because since there wasn't much going on, we were actually one of the first barber shops in Brooksville that were actually doing fades and
straight razors,
things like that.
A lot of the people in the area they mostly went to the salon. So, we were kind of, one of the first to really bring in the straight razor and all that, fades and everything like that, designs. Yep.
So there wasn't really much going on for barbers in Brooksville. Now Things have changed. We actually moved back from Brooksville. We moved our 12th grade year back to Tampa, and that's where we went to school. We went to the school out in Tampa, got our license. Growing up, not having a father, a lot of people started getting into trouble and getting into things like this. And I remember after my brother, I was, unfortunately I went to jail, and while I was in jail, my brother called me. We already had the barber shop. He called me and said, "Hey man, I have something that I think would be a good idea." He ended up, while I was in jail, he ended up getting a job at a barber school. He called me while I was sitting there and said, we talked for a little bit. And he said, "Hey man, I have a great idea. I think me and you should open up a barber school." And I was like, "What? A barber school? I don't know about that. Let's stick to barbering." And when I ended up getting out, me and him talked about it a little bit more. He said, "Hey, I think this would be a great idea," and ended up getting me involved in the same barber school that he was working at. So we ended up working there for a little bit, and we enjoyed it. And it was like, "Hey man, maybe this is something we can do." This was about what, 8 years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
About,
And no, but the funny thing is though, so when my brother started working there, he never met the owner. I think we told you a little bit about this last time, but he never met the owner at the time. And it had been a couple months that he had been working there, and he was doing all the front desk, work, clocking in students, making sure all the time cards were correct and all their hours and just everything in the front desk. So when he finally met the owner, the owner was like, "Hey, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?" And my brother goes, me and my brother, we already have a barber shop now. Maybe opening up a few more barber shops, and you never know, maybe we'll open up a barber school. And not trying to be an a-hole or anything, but the owner looked at him and was like, "Nah, that'll never happen."
That's literally what he said. He laughed at me and said, "No, it'll never happen." And I was like thinking, like, I was younger at the time, and it kind of hurt me to hear someone,
that you kind of look up to, and he's already in the industry already. So a lot of people, when they become barbers, they go work at someone's barber shop, and their dream is to eventually go and have their own barber shop. And some people, there's nothing wrong with working at someone else's barber shop, and you can still do good that way. But most of the people in the barber industry, they at least dream about having their own barber shop. But working at the school, we dreamed to have our own barber school and barber, and beauty academy. And he just shot us down and was like, "Yeah, that'll never happen." Like it wasn't feasible for, just two, guys, at 25 or 26. Yeah, you guys aren't smart enough. But so he really did put a spark on us, and it took us a little bit. We filled, we actually got the paperwork 2 or 3 times, and we're like, "Hey, we're gonna fill it out this year. We're gonna fill it out this year." We would start looking at it and be like, "Man, this is just too much. This is way too much." And then, well, hey, it just kept going to the back burner, and finally we end up
Well, real quick, I know most of you guys have seen the paperwork. That stuff is crazy. And honestly, if it wasn't for Chin, I don't even think we would have kept just saying, "Oh, we'll do it next year. Oh, we'll do it next year." But I ended up doing some research. I was like, man, there has to be someone that knows the process, that knows how to fill out the paperwork, that knows the in and outs of the barber school or beauty school industry. So I just kept looking stuff up, and then I ended up finding Chin on YouTube. So I look at it, I'm watching your videos. I'm like, man, I think I said it last week or 2 weeks ago, but I like that you were a godly person, and so are we. And I was like, oh man, this guy, you know, he seems like a really good guy. So seeing his videos, it kind of put even more of a spark, because I'm not gonna lie, the reason why I pushed us off years and years is because it just seemed like you had to be a lawyer to do the paperwork. Like, you know, I'm not saying that we're not smart, but it's pretty intense. And if you don't know what you're doing, you could possibly mess it up, and then have to be held back after you're paying. You know, you pay for this and that to get everything done, and then you're like, man. So once we found Chin, I ended up emailing him, and it was around the time of either right before COVID, like literally probably a month before COVID, or yeah, somewhere around there. And I emailed Chin, and we started off in the bronze program. So we were like, oh, okay, maybe if we can get into the bronze program, we'll be able to see how he's doing it and do it ourselves.
Yeah, because 2 brains are better than 1. So
Yeah.
we figured, hey, if we get the paperwork and we can do it, you know, and save a little money. No, you know, no offense to you, Mr. Chin, but you know, I'm sure a lot of people who were in our same situation was like, hey, we could probably get this paperwork and we can do it. Like I said, 2 brains are better than 1, and it still didn't help.
Nope. So yeah, it wasn't you know, it didn't seem like it was something realistic until we met Chin. It was probably about 5-6 months later that I was like, man, I talked to my brother. I was like, hey, listen, maybe we should see how much his top tier program is. And my brother, you know, he kind of, you know, again, no offense, but he was like, oh man, you sure this isn't a scam? You no one wants to go and give someone money and you don't really know him. I was like, man, I have a good feeling about him. You know, let's talk to him and see what he says. And he gave us a price, and my brother and I talked about it, and we were like, you know, if we just keep saying that we're gonna do it and don't actually just jump into it, then we're just gonna be the people that always are saying, hey, we're gonna do it one day. So we're like, hey man, let's just pay it. It's like a car payment. So we sacrificed. I'm still driving the same car that I have, a 2005 Scion. My brother's still driving the same car he has. We figured, hey, we'll make that sacrifice and get this where we could pay Chin and we can move on with this process. And as of a month ago, we ended up getting our license. So, and it was awesome. You know, being able to sit in front of the board. It was through Skype. Thank God. You know, it was I don't know how good I would have done talking if I would have saw everyone's faces. Thank you, Xandra. I appreciate it. You know, it would have probably been a lot more nerve-wracking standing in front of a whole bunch of people. Like, because I've talked to other people that did it before us that it wasn't Skype, and they were like, "Oh man, good luck, guys, because it's rough." But the Skype was they asked us a couple questions. Mainly, what it was about. Thank you, Tracy. And mainly, what it was
Our curriculum.
Our curriculum and if because when COVID was going on, we decided to do the hybrid program where we could do online and you know, in class. So after deciding to do that, we were like, oh, hey, we talked to Chin, and Chin's like, oh yeah, it'd be great, especially right now with COVID. You got, you know, I'll help you guys through it, and we ended up doing it. Well, when the state asked us about it, we actually kind of forgot that we chose, because literally, I will say, the state takes forever, guys. Don't get discouraged.
Yeah,
Like,
I do truthfully think that a part of their, that's what, this is how I think, is they want to see who's really dedicated on some, you know, some parts of it. So if they can drag it on a little bit, I'm not going to say some states may be different, but I feel like they, you know, they don't try to rush for anyone, and they want to see who's really dedicated, who's ready to, start a school. And if you go through all the hoops and the hurdles, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, so they like I'm sure some of you guys are dealing with it. They won't get back with you on email. They won't call you. Even if I have probably a thread, probably of 25 emails that were never responded to. I called between him and I, emailing and calling. I couldn't tell you how many times we called. So, if you guys don't let that discourage you, because one day it is going to happen. They're going to be like, hey, your time's up. They're going to send you an email saying, hey, congrats. You've been selected for this next go round. And then that's when the fun starts. So, but let's go back a little bit. So before all that happened, we have a barber shop.
It's Brooksville Barbers. Is not, I just shut it down to really focus on, I'm still cutting, but to focus on the school. I'm not, advertising my shop anymore, but we were in Brooksville for 9 years. And so a little about me, how I got in. I was in barbers, or I was in EMT and fire school. I ended up getting arrested for a DUI. So I was like, man, what am I gonna do? I got arrested for a DUI, but I didn't get a DUI. I got my license back for 3 months after I got arrested. So when I went to go turn in my application for firefighting, to get a job as a firefighter EMT, they said, you're not going to be able to do anything for 5 years, even though you didn't get a DUI. We can't accept your application. So I'm like, man, what the heck am I going to do? I happened to be going out it was a Friday, I remember, walked into this school in Tampa, and I signed up that day. So that's how kind of, I became a barber. But and I actually, my brother, he went through the school, but he never took his state test. So he's not licensed, but he will be once we, get our school up and going. And,
Yeah. When you're young, you're not thinking right, and then you hit a certain age and you grow up. So now once we start the school, I'm just going to go through my own program. Chin actually said, hey, that would be something good. So I'll go ahead and enroll into my own school and do it like that. Try, so let's say for some reason we don't get anyone, at least I, when the 18 months come up for accreditation, I went through the program, make sure I have all my ducks in a row. And so then we can get the accreditation and really start, getting maybe, growing our business and,
get our name out there.
Yeah, trying to do what, I'm sure what a lot of you guys are doing right now. So it's been a really, really fun and ups and downs the last couple of years trying to get this going. So, but we did it with the help of Chin, and it's a great feeling when you guys get that license. You guys are going to enjoy it. So now we're just waiting. We have everything set up. We just need to get,
and we're not at the shop right now because we don't got the Wi-Fi out there, but I do have pictures. I don't know if I'm able to put them up on, on here or not. So at least people can see our school, if that's possible.
Yeah, where are the pictures at? Are they on your phone, on Instagram, or
just email right now?
Oh, they're on email.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can pull your email up, or if you email them to me, I can pull them up for you. Whichever.
Okay.
So when y'all were going through the process, because that application with all of the exhibits and everything, how big was that? Maybe 90 to 100 pages?
Yeah, something like that, 90 to 100 pages.
Yeah, it was 70. No, it was 87 pages.
87 pages. So,
Yeah.
So what were you thinking of all of that paperwork? What were y'all thinking?
It's definitely, I mean, even, so like a couple situations, some of the stuff, maybe the state didn't like the way it was worded or something. So they would want you to correct it, or, something just wasn't 100%, to their liking. They wanted you to correct it. So if we would have just gone with your silver program and we try to do it ourselves, we probably would be here for 4 years or 5 years, them sending us back, oh, here's another mistake, correct it and send it back to them. It just would have been a even longer process. It wouldn't have been feasible because one, you have to have, I don't know how it is in other states, but you do have to have a location rented out when, upon the time of turning in your application, so it's not easy, but it's definitely doable, especially if you have chin on your side.
So tell us about the day before the inspection on the Skype, what y'all were feeling and thinking.
And it was I felt really nervous. I'm not gonna lie. You're for the days before, like they send you the email that you made it into the next, the next date, like 3 days before or 4. So you really don't have that much time. You're like, oh, am I gonna get in? Am I gonna make it this time? And then you finally get an email saying, oh, well, actually, so what happened was they sent us an email since it was the first time Skype the month before, or no, 2 months before. They said, hey, they sent everyone an email saying, hey, you were chosen. Well, they ended up accidentally sending it to everyone. So with this was 2 months ago. We were like, oh wow, we made it. Well, come to find out, the day I took off work, he took off work, we're sitting there. They go through the whole list.
4.5 hours later,
Yeah, we're sitting there for 4 hours. We're like, hey, I write on there, hey, you guys haven't called us yet.
because they were like, oh, this is the last school for the evening. And then we're like, wait, hold on. How can this be possible? How's this the last school if we still haven't even been called on yet? So we write them like, hey, I don't think this is correct because we haven't been called yet. And they tell us, well, what's the name of your school? We tell them Florida Barber and Beauty Academy. And they're like, oh man, sorry to tell you, but we accidentally sent out too many emails. And then that's when in the chat, we started seeing other people like, hey, yeah, we haven't been called on either. So there was at least 8+ schools that were on there that also got the email that never got called on. So, they don't have all their ducks in orders. Sometimes I feel like our woman, she did not get back to us promptly. It was
like pulling teeth.
Yeah. And then they would tell us, hey, give us a call or give us an email. So we'd email. No response when we would call. They would be like, well, why are you calling us? Why don't you're supposed to email us? We're like, well, that's a problem. We never can get through to you guys when we try to email you guys. So that's why we got a call.
Okay, and then, so y'all finally get on the list. Tell us about the day before that.
It's just, you're nervous the whole time. That whole night I couldn't sleep. I was thinking, oh man, hopefully we make it this time. Hopefully it's an easy process. Because some schools, when you're sitting in there, they'll just say, so and so school, you guys agree to have this school to get their license pretty much. And they'll say, I. And that's it. No one even says anything. Well, we happen to be the only school they actually talked to. And, I was like, oh gosh, hopefully they don't ask anything that I may not remember. Cause like I said, it was 3 days before when they sent the email. So I kind of try to skim through our packets, try to memorize as much as I could. So it was definitely really nerve wracking. And, but.
And I think we started talking about this earlier, but me and my brother sometimes just get ahead of ourselves. But so one of the women asked, hey, I see on your application, you guys have down that you guys are going to be doing an online course. And we're like, oh yeah, we're not going to do it though. And she's like, what do you mean you're not going to do it? Yeah, now that COVID's over, we don't think we're going to do that. Because she asked, do you guys have the software? And we're like, no, we don't have the software. And that's why we're like, yeah, we probably won't do that then. And she was like, well, you have that in your application, so I don't know if we can proceed. And that's when the saving grace, the other woman was like, no, hold on. They can keep that in their application, because if something ever was to occur, like a pandemic or something where people had to be, you know, on lockdown for a little while, they don't need to have it that just yet. But when it comes down to it and something like that happens, or, you know, from now till then, they can set a program up like that, which now the program that we went with, we do actually have the capability to do online courses. If you guys ever look into it, that SEMA from a lady, that's what we went with. You know, and the only reason why we went with that one, I don't know, I heard, you know, other people talking about other, but that's what when I went through barber school, that's Milady's what we used at the school that I went to. Then when I taught at the local school in Brooksville, that's the curriculum we use there. So to me, it was just easier to go with that, something I was already familiar with. I taught out of it for 2 years. So, you know, I'm not trying to be biased or anything. I don't know any of the other programs. That's just what I already knew. And I thought, you know, I talked to my brother. I'm like, hey, man, I think this is better because I taught out of it for 2 years. So for me, I already know it. Even though when we went to SEMA, like you had to take some courses online with one of their people, but it's basically the same thing, but it's all online. There's no books, no nothing. And it, you know, it does make it a little bit easier, you know, for grading and stuff. And it's actually cheaper for the students. You know, since we're starting, you know, we're starting off, there's one other school in our area. They have, you know, they have all the grants and everything. So we figure if we go maybe a route that students, like, you know, starting for a school like us starting off, it's a little more feasible. Yeah, they could afford it. Maybe it's something that, you know, because I think the books regularly are like $400 or $500. I believe SEMA's $250. So, and it's great because if someone doesn't have a tablet or any laptop or anything like that, guess what? They can do it on their phone. Everyone has a phone nowadays. So it may not be the best thing, but when it comes to, there may be someone that can't join because, hey, I can't afford the books. When I look, this is, you know, a little bit cheaper. Is this something you could work with? And if it is, then look, now you could use your phone. We'll have we have a projector and stuff set up, so we'll be able to project the curriculum on, you know, on the wall and stuff. So that I'm not really worried about it, but at least, you know, hopefully, you know, kids have laptops in it, but if not, we'll wing it. We'll wing it until we get the accreditation from NACIS, and from there, you know, hopefully that's the limit. Yeah.
What questions did they ask y'all? Do y'all remember? At the board on the Skype.
There was only a few. Yeah, it was like 3 or 4 questions. They asked us, why do we think that we're gonna stand out compared to other courses like ours? And, you know, what I told them is, look, a lot of the schools around our area, they're more towards the beauty side of, you know, that aspect. They're not really, you know, the barbers are the second hand, you know, like the ugly, you know, stepbrother or stepsister. They, you know, they don't really care about them too much. So I'm like, you know, our setup, we want it to be a little bit more like a mock-up barber shop, because at the school that we went to, it seemed like you're in a salon, but it's supposed to be a barber school, at least, you know, the way it was set up. So it didn't really cater to barbering, you know, and so that's what I told him. I said, I feel like we want to come from a barber standpoint instead of the beauty. You know, one day we do decide we want to have beauty, but as of now, we want our, you know, course to, you know, we want to hone in on the barbering, you know, because that's where we, you know, we're in the barber, side of beauty. So that's what we want to kind of,
Focus on, kind of
Focus
like
on.
niche into the
Yeah.
barbering, because you go to, I think, the more money's in the cosmetology side. So
Sometimes,
yeah. So if you I feel like if we can focus more on that, maybe
get, younger kids and, because barbering now in the last, 15 years, I think it's on the uprise again. I think for a little while, kind of the straight razor kind of was fading, and a lot of people, you go to a barber shop, but you wouldn't get, a tape up. You would just get especially if you went to a person who wasn't trained well, they wouldn't give you the cut that you actually really wanted. So, but I think it's like a revival right now for barbering. I think it's really starting to, maybe 20 years now, but it's really starting to be more hot and popular again, and it's really separating itself from just the beauty and salon. It kind of was. I think it wasn't as as popular, but I think there's a lot of barbers bringing it back, and so it's the young kids are really wanting to especially guys, because I know a lot of guys that are in the beauty side, and at the time it was because, and they're older, but it was because the barbering, they just didn't think they could make as much money as a cosmetologist, which now things are getting, these barbers are learning how to do color, learning how to take their barbering skills and turn it into something that's making them a lot of money.
Now, when y'all told that guy, the school owner, that you all gonna open a school, you said that was about 8 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Did y'all tell anybody else that y'all was gonna open a school?
We
Just our buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hey, it was funny because a lot of them would be like, we would talk about it, and then they'd be like, oh, here's that, because me and my brother we're dreamers sometimes. So, sometimes our dreams don't always come true, but so they'd be like, oh yeah, the barber school, yeah, when is that gonna happen? When is that gonna happen? So they keep kind of messing with us, like, hey man, have you ever tried to open a barber or any type of school before? I mean, it's not easy. That's what's taking us so long. But finally, it was funny when we posted the video that that we actually got our license to start taking students. Mr. Benet did congratulations guys. So me and my brother, I'm like, man, I hope he's seen that and was like,
I hope he remembered that day.
That day, yeah, he's like, hey,
not in a bad way, but he actually put fire under our butts to make this happen, because you know how it goes when someone tells you you can't do it or it can't be done, and sometimes you might feel like, oh, that maybe
he's right, maybe he's right,
but instead we just we use that as a force, like, hey, all right, we're gonna get this done. We're actually gonna do this. It might have taken us years, but we're there now.
We're still alive and we're still young.
Was it anybody that told you all that you all could do it, that encouraged you?
Our mom, like, since my father died when we were younger, when we were 8, my mom was our mother and our father. So she she made, that's why we're dreamers, because she told us we could do whatever we wanted. And she meant it. Maybe we didn't do everything that she wanted us to do, but she gave us the courage to be able to hey, yeah, you guys want to be this or that, go it, yeah. And other people would be like looking at my mom like, why are you telling them that? Don't
go tell them to go be a doctor or a lawyer.
Or go be a firefighter or something. And hey, that's a great job too, but and actually so it's not just, our uncle owns a barber shop in Cocoa Beach, and then my cousin has a shop in Tampa called Tampa Bay Barbers, but he did, he was there for a few years, but now he's on a radio talk show in Tampa. He's not even barbering anymore. He's a fisherman on Fox Sports now. So, but he was a barber for years and years, from 2002 or 3 all the way till just maybe 3 years ago. But he had an awesome shop, and that's actually where I started working at after I got, because that's another thing. When I left barber school, that's why I want to, because I feel like a lot of barbers start school, and a lot of these schools are hyping them up, and it's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. It's like a double-edged sword. You want them to be confident, but you also don't want to, be telling them, oh man, you're going to be making $2,000 a week, and you're going to be, I still had to, I was working at Publix and Home Depot, and then I started working at my cousin's shop, and I had my license for probably 3 or 4 years before I started working at my cousin's shop, because I was too scared to go. I would cut my friends because I was comfortable with them at the house, but I would go to a shop, and then someone wouldn't call me back, and I'd be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. And I almost never became a barber. I went through EMT, firefighting school, CNA, phlebotomy. I was really I was really trying to push that medical side, because but then my cousin, actually my aunt, she's like, hey, did your cousin Bubba call you? And I'm like, no. He's like, he's opening up his own shop and he wants you to come work for him. And I'm like, does he know that I cut like maybe 2 people every 2 months? Like, I don't cut. And my cousin if you know him, he's a very busy guy, so he was hardly there at the shop. But when I first went to his shop, he's like, hey, cuz, don't worry about it, I'm gonna be there every day for you. And I'm like, all right. So the first week he was there every day with me. After that, I was there by myself, and I'd be like, hey, Bubba, man, you need to come back over here, man. There's a person with a tapers and skin fades I couldn't do. So I'm like, he's got a skin fade, man. He's like, bro, this is how you're gonna get better. Do it, just do it. What's the worst that can happen? I'm thinking, I know what the worst can happen. I could get beat up, stabbed or something. But that did help me grow, him just throwing me inside there. Even he gave me the confidence for a week, and then he threw me inside to the Sharks, and it did make me a better barber. And now this is kind of where we're at now.
So did anybody else reach out when you all would talk about the barber school, and then y'all finally opened it?
No, I'm sure everyone knows how it goes. The whole time we were doing it, not many people reached out. Now that we're at this point, man, we have people reaching.
Some of our buddies, hey man, you think hey, I'll go through barbering school, but I don't know if I could pay your amount. I'm like, man, I didn't, or they some people that we know, they don't understand what we went through the last 2 years almost to get where we're at now, and the money that we put into and we invested. So I'm like, hey man, we're buddies, but this is business. And so, there's, definitely a lot of people that's reached out to us, and, we'll see how it goes. If they want to pay the full course and go through it, I'm down to, I'm down to have them inside there and teach it. And, but, yeah, a lot of people congratulated us and was like, wow, I had a couple of people say, wow, man, Ricky, I didn't think that was ever going to happen. For a little bit, I thought, or people would come into the shop while I was cutting, like, hey man, are you still opening up the school? Yeah, man. It's happening. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Just, it's going to be a couple more months. What happened? I seen you last month, 4 months, 5 months. Hey, I'm thinking in the next 2 months, it's going to happen. It's really, we're that close. We're this close. It's going to happen. I'm telling you. But, and it finally did, especially, with the help of Mr. Chin, I'm telling you.
So when you all would call me, what would you all be thinking? Because we talked a whole lot. Y'all called a lot too.
Yeah,
Yeah, we called a lot.
I was like, man, hopefully I'm not bothering Chin. No, I felt like since like you said, we could call you whenever we want. So I took advantage of that. I was like, hey, let me, any questions I had, I called, reached out, and it helped. We're here, so it definitely helped. And I did see someone write something. Did they give you a deadline to make corrections shortly before you receive the Skype email.
No, but when
No.
you don't get that Skype email to go into the to see the board until your whole paperwork is 100% correct. You're not getting no email other than here's a correction. We need this corrected.
No,
And-
what happens is when you go to the meeting to get licensed, they tell you if you do need something to correct something, you may not make it that go round. They'll be like, hey, unfortunately, because so and so or whatever, you're gonna have to come fix that and come back in 2 months. So if for some reason, if there's something that they don't like,
yeah, but you would never get to the point of they wouldn't ask you to come to the meeting to sit down with the board until your
Oh, yeah.
paperwork is 100% complete. No corrections or nothing. It's all got to be corrected. Then they'll send you email saying, hey, the paperwork is finally complete. We will get with you when you're gonna sit with the board. We'll give you an email. So then that's when you get
Now, when y'all got approved, how did y'all feel? Tell us about that when y'all got that approval.
man,
Oh,
it was we went out, we celebrate. Not like I don't drink, so
man, we drink a little bit.
yeah. So we ended up just going out, having a good time with the family. It wasn't too late. Got some good food around here, and it wasn't
Yeah,
nothing crazy. Just kind of just hung out with the family. Everyone congratulated us, and
We were doing like exactly what we're doing here now. Me and my brother on Skype. Then they came up. We talked for about 10 minutes, and we actually recorded our whole interaction with the state. So we can send it to you if you like, and you can, post it, let people see. Just like this, like I was saying, it was just like this. After the cameras turned off, me and my brother were like, yes, hell, we were enthused and happy, and
it was definitely a great
it was-
feeling.
it was awesome.
Yep.
So how do y'all feel now being school owners?
Oh, even my mom's, my mom tells us, she's like, you guys are Florida State, school, licensed, licensed school. That's a big thing, Ricky and Anthony. That's a big, she'll call us and be like, I just want to tell you again, wow, that is awesome. My sons are Florida school owners. Like, you guys are licensed, like, and she'll keep just telling us. And so, that's that also makes us feel real great, because my mom's always, I know no matter what, if my brother doesn't have he always has my back, but my mom 100% has both of our backs. If me and my brother are arguing, my mom is gonna straighten out, and we may not, when we get into argument, we may not talk for 10, 20, maybe 30 minutes, but an argument between me and my brother doesn't last long.
Yeah.
But so me and my brother will do phone tag with my mom. Hey, this is what he said. Well, this is what he said. And then she's like, well, you guys need hey, she'll tell me what I want to hear, and then she'll tell him what she wants to hear. Then we'll be like, well, Mama said this. No, Mama said that. And then we'll call, did you tell Anthony that no, I didn't say that. I said you guys, and then she'll try to smooth it out, and then usually it's all smoothed out and, worked out. But, we do have a great family, and, without our family, that's also another thing that we would not be where we're at right now.
Fiancés, they were a major help with us. There was times where I was like, hey man, I'm gonna be having to pay for this and having to pay for that, might be short on money, and they would be like, hey, hold it down. They would hold it down for us while things were getting rough. But thank God for our family, and it worked out so far. We still got a long way to go. We're not out of the woods yet,
but we're excited because our next step, that getting that license through the state, is like a check mark. But the next one is getting that NACIS check mark. And I can't remember what it was, if it was 68 or 69 schools in Florida.
68.
68. We want to, I know there's some other people from Florida here too, but we want to be either 68, 69, 70, somewhere in the next couple, few, between 68 and 75, somewhere in between there.
All right, I'm gonna share this screen because I want y'all to tell them about the shop. Can y'all see the screen?
All right, we don't have this. This is just our starter shop. It's nothing big. J-Rod, we're in Brooksville. We're like 35 minutes north of Tampa,
And we still got some trim to do, and some, few, like putting the corner caps on the stations and stuff. This was just, I took it today just so I can, have something just in case we were able to put it on. So we still got a couple things left to kind of touch up on, and just get things ready for students. But it definitely is turning out. I don't know if you guys can see, we got these, there's 8 stations, 1 on each end, and then 3 on the long sides. And then there's the mirrors that are facing at each end. And then we welded a piece of metal square tube that is connected into the ceiling that the mirrors are hanging from, and we'll have our air hoses for blowing off the people's hair hanging from there, or electrical coming down. So there's still some stuff that needs to be done. My brother is also an electrician, so
It looks good.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
getting there.
Yeah.
And we still, in that back left room is where our wash room is gonna be, where the students are gonna be washing people's hair. It's only 1 sink right now, but that actually will be done Monday. The plumbers come Monday and just finish and square up everything else.
Yeah. So we have a
Yes, Jason, that's our school.
so we got lucky in Florida. We can so we're splitting up our days, like our lecture and then the actual cutting, we're splitting them up maybe in between. So we'll have lecture days, so there won't be anyone coming in on days that
We haven't decided yet. That was his plan. My plan is maybe to do an hour a day, but we'll figure it out. Maybe an hour in the morning and then cut, because I think 8 hours or 5 hours, however long, is too long for lecture. But I think 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour, at night class. But if we'll see.
Yeah, the building over here, we have a lot more
Yes.
room to grow.
We could probably put another 25 to 30 stations on the other side, in which
Thank you, C. Harris.
we plan on doing that. That's there's a mechanic shop, and the landlord, our goal is to buy the building. We already sat down with the owner and talked it all over. We're gonna start seeing about buying the building, and then hopefully next year the mechanic should be out, and we're gonna expand another 20 or whatever we can fit, because it's 3 bays or 2 bays, and it's a huge space. So we'll have, if we decide to do half cosmetology, half barbering, but our goal is kind of, maybe keep this barbering right now, and maybe get to a bigger location more towards
Wesley Chapel.
yeah, Wesley Chapel, and do the whole, beauty.
Yeah, we want to do like a school, something like barber, cosmetology, nails, esthetician, massage, eventually, all in due time. Right now we're like we said, we're focusing on the barbering, and then eventually we'll get this space, we'll get the space bigger, and keep growing it out. And hopefully one day, God willing, we open up something bigger out in Wesley Chapel, or there's other cities around us that we can go to. We're not where we're at. We're centrally located. We're 45 minutes from Orlando.
No, about an hour from Orlando.
45 minutes to an hour from Orlando. Same thing with Tampa. With Spring Hill, we're not far from. There's a lot of Wesley Chapels 25 minutes from our house, and the shop. So there's a lot of sit, and there in these places they don't really have anything for you know, when it comes to barbering and any of the beauty stuff. So we're hoping that, you know, that this does well, and then we can, you know, grow. So we'll see.
It looks good. Now, was the floor already there? That's a nice floor.
Yeah, the floor was there. Actually, and that's another thing. So this was my mom's, the landlord is my mom's boss. So he was moving this, you know, he sold cars, and this was like his office away from his car lot. So my mom's like, hey man, they're moving out of here. You guys need to jump in. You know, it was painted, everything was done. All me and my brother did was put the stations up, put our chairs in, hang, you know, the stuff, the lights, everything else was there. So we didn't have to do much. It was all painted in floor. So it was a blessing. My mom helped us out, and you know, we've been longtime friends with the landlord as well. So he also, you know, helped us out a bit. And my mom's been working with them for a long time. So I'm not saying he helped us out on, but you know, he definitely, you know, other people were interested in that location, and he kind of, you know, oh hey, I got, you know, my boys, that's what, oh, my cousins, I got my cousins that want, you know, that want the spot. So he definitely got us in and put us inside there. He's a good guy, and you know, that definitely helped us out a lot. We didn't have to put too much into the build out per se.
Now, Ricky and Anthony, what advice would you all give a barber, stylist, nail tech, esthetician, a beauty professional that's probably working in the shop, they got a shop or work at a school or whatever, but they got that dream or had that dream just like both of you all? What would you all tell them?
Man, keep pushing it. Don't let, you know, a little bump in the road stop you, you know. So there's going to be some bumps, definitely a lot of bumps. You know,
The main thing is, I feel like if you have the drive to, you know, to get out and do something for yourself and not always work under, you know, be pretty much a slave to someone else, go out and make your own money. Go out, you know, and with anything, it takes time and dedication. So if you could put time and dedication into yourself and into your dream, then there's a very good possibility, because you said it, we were looking at the schools. What, in Georgia, there's like 13 NACA certified schools. Florida was 68. You went all through the different states. You know, there's not many people doing this, at least now. So it's definitely something to look into if this is something you want to do, and eventually, you know, grow it, and then you could step back and let it just pretty much run itself. And then now, you know, when you build something like that, then right now the people we work for are taking the vacations and buying the nice cars and this and that. Maybe one day, God willing, that could be us. You know,
and you know, it's like it's like oil. You know, there's people start drilling a hole over here, and that oil goes out, and maybe that first person became a multi-millionaire, billionaire, bought all this, but then there's other people that came a little bit behind them, you know, a few years or whatever, and poked a hole somewhere else, found some oil, and they made a lot of money. So the industry is still growing. The schools are still growing. It's not like, oh man, there's 1,148 schools in the whole United States. That's nothing. That is such a small amount. So that's another thing that's driving us. You know, I feel like there's still a lot of money to be made in this industry, and you know, I'm trying to get it.
Yeah, I saw real quick. Sorry for cutting you off. I saw someone ask how many chairs do they. Marvin asked how many chairs do they require. Luckily, in Florida, there is no requirements at all. It's just you know, we decided to go. We could put 10 seats or 10 chairs, and we are. this is what we had. We're gonna put 2 more at the end, but for now we have 8. And like I said, we're starting small. We're not gonna try to jump. I see Jason West spent 55K, and that's that's definitely a big chunk, and I'm sure it looks beautiful. At the moment, we couldn't drop that much. That's
and everything we did, that was another thing. We did have each other to help each other out, but man, that's another thing. My father and parents being from Cuba, they were like, you don't pull out credit cards, that's the way it is now, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying that, but the way that we were raised was like, hey, if you want something, you save up and you get it. And with your help, and actually it seemed like it was taking forever, but actually the time that it took for the school to get approved by the state actually helped us to be able to slowly trickle in money into the school without having to drop a whole bunch of money at once and going into debt. And so it was nice that, yes, it took a little bit longer than I probably wanted to, but it also, at the same time, it was still a blessing because me and my brother, we don't owe, no bank or anything. So no bank can shut us down because we're not paying our payments or, so to me, that's a big thing. And like I said, everyone, it has different situations and different,
see, they just told us today. I see Jason West. So our plumber came in. At first, they told us it was going to be like 1,200, and then today they ended up coming in saying it's going to be 4,300. I'm sure Jason, if you don't mind me asking, what city do you live in? Because that,
Dallas, Texas.
Dallas.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, because you must have a big building, big shop. So I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure that's gonna be beautiful once it's all said and done, man. Probably gonna be very nice. So yeah, right now we're doing, like I said, it's just we're starting small, but we'll eventually grow. Florida, thank God, doesn't have as many restrictions as other states, and yeah, yep, 2,000 square. Yeah, ours is that big. Not,
I think we're like almost 1,000.
yeah, not we're not big at all, but like I said, we still got a whole other side. Eventually, if it does well, then we'll grow it up. But
And that's another reason why we went with that bar style, area down the middle, so we can put the stations around it and still have a waiting room. Because if we would have put the stations on the outside wall and then had the chairs out and then the kids cutting and everything, and then try to have waiting chairs in the middle, I don't know. The feng shui wouldn't have been good in my eyes. So that's why we went that way. I thought it looked, and the way that the building shape is kind of long. So with that bar and that gent sign up top, when I seen that, I was in Georgia. I went to an antique place. I seen that and I was like, that's going to be the centerpiece for the barber shop, barber school.
that was the first thing. He was like, hey, look, we're gonna build everything else around it.
Truthfully, that is the truth. I didn't care about anything other than I wanted that gent sign to stand out, and I just thought that thing just was beautiful.
What would y'all say are some of the biggest mistakes that you feel they could make? What are some big mistakes you feel on the pursuit of opening the school?
I mean, maybe rushing and you don't want to, but make sure you have kind of an idea of what you're getting yourself into. You don't want to rush because at least in our state, you have to have a place rented out. So if you don't have all your ducks in a row and you start trying to rent a building and then it takes a year and a half like it did for us or a little bit more, that's a lot of money that you're putting down into rent and you're not making any money back. Luckily, I'm a barber and I'm able to cut out of my shop. And my brother, also he's an electrician and he owns his own company doing low volt electrician. will work. But so we both you know, and that's another thing. My brother did help me out. He lended me some money to open up my first original barber shop in Brooksville, and then I went back and helped him with, you know, starting his electrician. So now we're like, man, we're gonna do this thing together. But yeah, if you have anyone who is a partner that you know you think is loyal and you're willing to, that will definitely take a lot of the stress, you know, because sometimes, I'm not saying doing it by yourself is you know, is easy, or it's, you know,
Like the two gentlemen that were on, I think 2 weeks ago.
yeah,
That was a great example. You know, that's kind of like us, you know. We're helping each other out. You know, if something needs to get paid and I'm low on funds, then he'll pick it up, and vice versa. So definitely, you know, if it would have been a one-man show, it probably would have taken longer than a year and a half. So, you know, everything, the way I see it, everything happens for a reason. God puts everything in place, and you know, and this is the way I feel like it was meant. My brother and I just to open this up and get this going. So, you know, we're gonna try our hardest to get this going.
but definitely do, you know, some studying. If you're a person on here that's not, you haven't signed up with, you know, with Chin, talk to him, you know, and he definitely knows what he's doing. He definitely, you know, has everything in line, and you don't got to think that hard if you got Chin helping you, because he's going to do most of the work. Not saying that you're not doing any footwork either, because you're doing a lot of stuff too, but he's definitely going to be behind you and helping you out and making sure that, you know, hey, don't worry about, hey, we're going to get this done, you know, this is, you know, and so if I'm, you know, it's just, he definitely can help you.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part? What do y'all feel is the hardest part in opening the school? Since y'all got approved, what was the hardest part?
The hardest part to me was just waiting for the state. You know,
Probably the CPA too, because
oh yeah, the
finding a CPA
that's ridiculous.
that has ever done the, you know, that type of work was one of the harder things as well, I think, because you know, there's not a lot that have, and Mr. Chin has a whole bunch of people so that also, you know, do that. So we try to find someone on our own, and it did not you know, when we try to look for our own CPA, it was not easy. We
gotta run around.
We literally dropped off the paperwork to the CPAs, and they'd be like, yeah, I can do that for you. I can do that for you. 1 week would go by. He would hit us up at the end of the week. Yeah, it's almost done. Just give me 1 more week. Then the next week, yeah, I almost got it. Give me till the next Monday. Me and my brother drove out there because he told us everything was done. And when we got there, hey man, truthfully, I'm sorry I wasted your guys' time, and he was an older man, but I want, you know, if the Holy Spirit wasn't there holding me back, I don't know what I would have done. Because man, you made us. It was like we got up at like 7 o'clock in the morning. He wanted us to meet us at 9, so we went and got, you know, some toast and some coffee, and then, you know, some Cuban bread and some coffee, and went over there, and he wasted our time. But yeah. To me, the CPA was definitely hard to find.
Okay. Anything else y'all want to share with them?
You know, let me think. I think as of right now, I'm kind of drawing a blank.
Well, y'all shared a lot.
Yeah.
Do y'all got any time?
We like to talk.
Say that again.
Time for Q&A if they want to ask some questions?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.